Yeah, I got single, and then it just started falling apart, and I was like, dude, it's
better your core, the harder the breakup was.
That's exactly what I'm getting at.
If you broke up with someone and you didn't care, you have no ambition
you go back to having beers with your buddies. No, I was just right on, like, no carb diet, intense, weighted planks at the gym. Yeah.
Weighted planks?
No, I went from planks once a month to I put a weight on my back and do planks now. I'm like, oh. Well,
the girl puts a weight on your back emotionally, and then they dump you, and you need resistance training just to overcome.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I need an actual physical weight now.
Do you have a weight belt on when you're doing planks? Is that what you're saying? A belt? Or like?
So I'll do a plank, and I'll take a 10-pound plate, and I'll put it on my lower back.
It doesn't fall off?
No, because you're just doing planks.
He has a man back. He doesn't have some dinky little dimple.
Yeah, it's not like a tiny
one of those women backs that's not meant for carrying purses. This is a man we're talking to. Let's just jump right into it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Sex Actually Podcast. Your host, Dave Neal, co-host Tasha Courtney.
What's up?
Coming to you live with Griff Pippin. Woo! The coolest. Griff is the coolest guy. I was trying to prep Tasha by explaining. I was like, Griff burns more calories than anyone I've ever seen when he does stand-up comedy.
You know what? I can probably say that with confidence, yeah.
Like, have you ever wore a Fitbit when you've done stand-up?
You know, that's a good idea. I've never actually had anyone suggest that or thought about that, but that would be a funny experiment because you've seen the CrossFit bit.
Yeah.
And if I can do anything to stand out in comedy and be recognized for one thing, it would probably be nobody physically works harder on stage.
What's funny is you're really good with accents and impressions, yet you're going to be known as the Richard Simmons of stand-up.
You know, you never get to choose what you'll be known for because a lot of people know me for my crowd work, or people are like, oh, he's the accent guy, or people are like, he's the most physical comic I've ever seen. Like, I can never release an album on Spotify, and I'm fine with that.
They'll be like, what is he doing? I need to know.
This is, oh my gosh, it sounds so funny. Now I have to go to his YouTube page. See, that's strategy right there.
They need to like mic the floor so like you're just like doing shit. What the fuck's going on? You're like, oh, Griff's doing an act out. Tasha doesn't understand stand-up talk.
I absolutely do. I just tune out. I tune out. I can't.
She's used to tuning out when I try to run bits by her. But no, I think, like strippers, they get a good workout while they make money and do stripping. You get to do that on stage.
And not make money. It's great.
Not make money.
It's so good.
And not be valued in society as high as strippers.
Well, let me explain to Tasha and anyone listening what the CrossFit bit is. I physically do a CrossFit workout on stage.
Are you just dripping sweat by the end? Because
Sometimes.
I feel like even with 2 minutes of like a serious exercise, I'm like winded.
Now that I'm single, I've lost some weight, so I'm not sweating as much. But so I'll do a full burpee. I'll do 2 burpees. I'll take the microphone cord and whip it like that the thing where they whip the ropes. I'll do kettlebells, like a full workout, right? And the thing is,
a lot of stool work.
Yeah,
gotta do a lot of stool work.
I mean, I do it all. I take the mic and use it as like
you bring a kettlebell on stage?
No, but it's imaginary.
Oh, okay.
But still, if you watch the work, it's. And the thing is, it's funniest for other comedians to watch is I physically put all of this insane amount of work in, and when the joke doesn't hit, it's the funniest to comics because he is working so hard physically and getting no reaction.
That's big. The bigger risk, the bigger reward, or the bigger fall.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I never don't commit, and I will commit to a joke, and I look like an idiot.
Your commitment level, which we could get into with relationships, if your commitment to relationships is anything like your stand-up, you're not. Like, I don't know, like me, I don't dump girls. I commit to that bit as long as I can until it's like the locks are changed. I think Tasha's found that out, but I'm just like...
Well, now I know that when I really want you to go, I just got to put all your stuff on the sidewalk and...
But even that, is that going to send me home? No. I've spent a few nights in the car, but I'm not driving away. Now, what's going on with you? So you teased it. You've lost some weight. You've got the old breakup diet.
Yeah.
Which, as painful as that is to you in the moment, is a beautiful rebirth. It really is.
Right.
Have you hit the beautiful rebirth part yet, or are you still miserable?
I'm somewhere in this limbo, because there's a lot of emotion there, and it's not just gone. It's not one black or white right now, but I'll say that thing about a breakup that you can lose this weight. You otherwise no way you could have. There's no amount of willpower or
depression.
Those first few weeks of depression and appetite will crush that weight, and then once you get out of that and your stomach is shrunk, and then you're like, wait a minute, I got rid of that stubborn fat. I can do this.
Look good.
And then it gives you the confidence to lose another 5, and then you kind of keep going.
You could start like a exercise regime, like CrossFit of desperation or something. Like you could really. It's a real thing. Now the mistake I've made in the past, I got dumped while in New York in the winter. I didn't go outside, so I kind of became some hermit. It was only for like a few days. Did
you still lose weight though, or did you just like eat your feelings?
10 pounds immedially.
You lost it or gained?
Just gone. Lost it.
Yeah, people either gain or lose weight during breakups. I'm a loser,
and I'm an eater. So when the relationship's gone, it's like I'm so wired to like process and become obsessed, and we become obsessed about that which we lack. We become obsessed with stand up when I'm not getting a stage time. I need to get up in there. And then your girlfriend's going, and then you just become obsessed, and it makes it worse. But it's also a form of coping, and then that sadness becomes anger, and you go through all the processes.
Yeah, the 5 stages or whatever they are: grief, anger,
and all I know is sadness, anger, and I'm over it. Because that's it. I mean, I'm sure there's stages.
Denial,
Denial.
Sadness, acceptance.
Acceptance is
the
final
end. One. That's the fun. So it's denial. It's like denial. Then it's like anger.
No,
then it's like sad. I don't remember what it is.
One that means like negotiation. Bargaining.
Bargaining's a level.
Uh-huh.
It's true.
Look it up and find out what they
actually are.
Bargaining is a level
because you start off with like denial, like no way I didn't get dumped. Then you start with like
bargaining.
Then you're like, wait a minute, let's try to make this work. And then you go to fuck, it didn't work. I'm sad. And then
I'll start off by this, and because I don't know you that well, but I would probably take a bullet for you on a limb. I would because you're a cool.
Dave, don't make me cry.
We met, and I was like, who's this guy? Because you were like telling people how some tips on stand up, and then he killed it on stage, and I was like, oh fuck, I should take his advice. But until you know someone, you're like, oh, this guy. But we were at he was doing the Valley open mic in this girl's living room, and it was like, and it just became. I mean that I don't know. It's hard for me to make. I don't live anywhere near there. But it was a ton of fun, and it was nice to meet you there. And I knew you had started dating a comedian. I won't go any farther with that because I honestly don't know who it is. I don't. But the only question I was going to ask were the pros and cons of dating someone who like does the same creative art as you. But
in your community.
But I didn't know you had broken up. So
yeah, no. People keep asking what are the pros and what's that like, and. You see people that date other people in their field a lot, and you see it work, but you seldomly see it work. And here's why: you think on paper, that could work because you both have the same interests, the same goals, blah blah blah, same schedule. So that can be great. However, the psychology and reality of the situation is we live in a tough industry, and stand-up specifically, and modeling's tough too mentally, and they're both just brutal in so many different ways, but you're both competitive, you're both insecure as fuck. It's like you can't help. Jealousy's a human nature, and so when someone else and your partner gets ahead, you get a little bit jealous. Just all these unhealthy but natural type of emotions pop up. Versus, and also you come home, you have a shitty day and you're stressed by the world, and you come home and you just want to be with someone who's chill and calms you down in any relationship. And you come home and then they're like, let me tell you about my fucking problems. You're like, oh, Jesus. I want to come home, to an accountant or a chef, anyone, and just, she can unload her day and like, God, Katie was being such a bitch at work today. I'm like, I'm fine with that. I'll listen to her talk for hours. But
when it's too real, when it's too similar to your struggle, also, it
reminds you of yourself.
Exactly.
And when you get home and then they're like, oh, I didn't get on this audition and it flopped, and you're like, oh, that reminds me of my career. But if she comes home and she's like, oh, I was one number off and my boss almost fired me, I'm like, hey, let's have a glass of wine and chat. I could do that all day. But
we have some business ladies that watch this or listen, so we'll make sure that we get some accountant.
Yeah, I want to date anyone, and nothing against entertainers or dating them, and it works all the time. For me, it's just like she said, it's too real. I need to come home, and I don't want to. It's like hearing double dose of my problems. I didn't get this booking or whatever, or I didn't land that audition, and you hear them vent, and it's just like, hey, me too, and it just makes you feel.
But that's not enough. So that's not enough for it not to work out. What was it looking back Because you had mentioned to us, like, right before we went on air, like, how do you guys make it work? And I said we're both stubborn, but in the end, we want it to work. And that's what I think what it comes down to is whatever your differences are, if you can try to be optimistic and look at that as, like, whatever your, whatever the resistance is, that kind of creates fire.
Right.
That friction creates fire, can be good. Tasha's way more organized, all these things. And it's like, what do I want? A fucking loser like me who can't put his socks away? So it's good. It's good, but I also have to, like, let her, chill out and fly by the seat of her pants sometimes. And so it's a give and take of which attributes are helping us versus, like, thinking outside the box, because we're the first time we've lived together in a way. I'm sorry, getting feedback. It's the first time we've lived together where we have to, know what we're doing and know how we're pissing the other one off without actually doing.
It's a lot of work to sum all. It's just a lot of work. You want to make it work. Any relationship is a ton of work.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the, like, final straw?
So it's not that any one person is. We were butting heads a lot. It was a lot of just butting heads, and as couples do. But once again, like, you guys, it's two stubborn people. Now, I'll get a little more into depth with that. But I had my faults. She had her faults. We didn't really, at first, we communicated. But after a while, I think both of us felt like we couldn't talk to each other because we'd just get mad if we brought something up. So the communication went out the door, and that's where shit just kind of, and with any relationship, if you don't communicate, shit starts to crumble at the foundation.
It feels so tangled because it's like, I didn't talk to you because you were being this way, but she's like, well, but you were being and it's
so
like.
Did you feel like when you were trying to talk about things that it wasn't, like, the problem wasn't actually being addressed in the long term? What made you tired of wanting to try and communicate?
Well, it was, I think both of us would try to communicate and feel like, well, we would get, this happens a lot with just human beings, is when you try to tell someone you're doing this thing I don't like and they get defensive. And I'm guilty of it too. And that is not a way, and both two people being stubborn and being defensive doesn't work. You got to sit down and go, look, you're doing this thing I don't like, and they need to be receptive of it, and vice versa. And that wasn't happening, so the fights kind of kept going on.
Were you both trying to tell the other person what they were doing wrong?
Yeah.
Or would you go up to her and be like, I see how I pissed you off there?
And I was I made a lot of mistakes, but I was apologetic and understood and tried to work on it. I don't think, like any relationship, it's work, and I don't think I am guilty of not really putting the work in.
You think you're not guilty?
I am guilty.
Oh, you are
really not putting the work in, and I'm fine. I live with my, with my decisions, but I don't think I put the work in, and that says a number of things.
Well, I think to keep a relationship, like, magnetic, I think you do have to continue to put the work in, but I wouldn't. I by no means immediately telling you did something wrong. It's like it's a tough thing to make work.
Well, think about in our situation, we really had to learn how to fight with each other.
You got to learn how to fight with someone
and communicate effectively, because
I like to start with a catcher's mask and shin pads, but then also wear a cup.
But I think that we're both we get defensive. You definitely get very defensive. I know that I don't always take criticism very well, but we had to, like, sort of develop a system.
So she started with what I do wrong.
Whatever. But
I just noticed it.
Addressing problems.
We'll put it this way. Yesterday we had an audition together, which I hate talking industry because it's pathetic, but it was like real people. So what do they take? A model and her stand-up comedian boyfriend. So we get to the audition, and we drive all the way to Burbank, and then she goes. She had to pick someone up at the hospital, or the pharmacy is right next to the audition. Great. So I just follow along. I drive her there, all the way there during rush hour, 5 p.m. And then she looks down and goes, "Oh shit, the audition's in Hollywood." Now, if you don't know, this is like not a good thing when that happens.
That could cause breakups.
We're talking we're just talking different cities as far as, like, LA is concerned. And but luckily it wasn't like it wasn't my fault, and I dealt with it cool as a cucumber. I calmed her down, and we moved on, right?
Yeah, you're right.
But
I know you're trying to say that if
it
was the reverse, I would be furious, which is probably true. I don't handle stress very well. But you didn't let me finish before when I was trying to compliment the way that we have learned to address
let me turn your
problems.
mic up. You're going to compliment. Let's go.
Oh, okay. So funny.
Yeah, that's a huge part of couples, learning how to address problems.
Yeah.
But I look at it as a case study. And in that moment, I was like, Tasha, like, look, see how cool I am right now? Because I really was. I was like, hey, babe, we're going to make it if we're supposed to, blah, blah, blah. It was like some Hyundai print thing. It was like, whatever. Like, we'll get there. They'll be so happy if we're the last people they see. And then I was like, but just know that this is how it is. And one time we were on our way to Vegas, and I was on the phone, and my GPS didn't update, and I was going the wrong way for an hour and a half, and we barely made it to the show I was supposed to be on. And it was super stressful, and you hated me. And I get it. I've seen you there. The adversity of like being stressed out when you're late for something or when you have to meet new people. I get how these things work, and I'm just letting her know that like we're in it together. We're on the same team. We're in the same car. And it was great. We had a good audition yesterday. It worked out great.
Yeah. You still have not let me finish the two things that I wanted to say, which was tips. I'm trying to give real tips for people who are trying to learn how to fight with each other in a nice, healthy, productive way. 1, focus on only one problem at a time. If I'm talking about my grievance, you are not allowed in that moment to bring up your grievances. Don't meet like my sort of criticism with more criticisms of your own. If I say A is a problem, don't tell me B, C, and D that are problems in your idea. We'll address those in 10 minutes if we need to. But first, let's work out problem
It's like a legal issue.
And then second, that you have to do it with love. We always make a point, or I try to make a point if I'm giving you a criticism. I know I don't always do it, but if I'm like, babe, I love you, but you got to pick up your socks.
Is this Tasha? Are you really Tasha? I don't think she's ever done this before.
That's so not true. You are shortchanging me.
Fine. Sure.
But we've had to make a point because I tend to be like very assertive and direct, and I don't like to like fluff around a problem. I like to just say what the problem is, and so I've had to learn that I need to give it a little fluff because he's very sensitive.
Because I'm not just an asshole. I'm not just a selfish prick. You have to understand, like you water it down into But either way, I can take that. I've had coaches and shit. You piece of shit, just yelling at me.
But yes, you don't take it from me.
Well, it's so different from and you said something really interesting there. You're like, you learn to. I'm a really sensitive guy, and if you don't word things right, it's going to make me angry. And I think that was a problem. There was never either one of us never learned how to just be like, hey, listen, I love you, but it was like you fucked up. And it was attacking each other.
I like to make it like we're together. Like if Tasha took a photo with some dude and it really pissed me off because I was like, really? Like you thought that what it's like just random. I would probably be like, look, I love that you're like I would make it about I love what you're doing. I love that you're
about you.
But I would say I do feel, and I know you didn't even think of me, but I do feel weird when this is happening. Just try to make it in a way that's very much like not you make me feel like this. I know that's what I'm actually saying, but it's like I should have control of my own emotions, but it's still I'm working.
You have a response, what happened this week? A body response.
What happened this week when we went? Something happened.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you did a shot. You did. Let's use this example.
Oh, at a party.
It's totally fun, simple example because I didn't think twice about it. I really didn't. I was just teasing her. But like Tasha, some guy. We were at an Oscar party, and some guy that we probably know his name, and we just don't. I don't remember his name. Do you? He was like, all right, we're doing shots. You do a shot. And then like everyone else was like, no. And next thing you know, it's just Tasha doing a shot with this guy. And I was we were just like walking out the door. We were getting ready to leave the party. And I was in the kitchen, like picking up our Tupperware and stuff that we brought because we had brought food. But there was a shot sitting out and the guy's holding Fireball and he's like, that one's for you. And so I was just like, okay, it's the end of the night. It's Fireball 1. It's not going to make me wasted. And I was just like, okay, fine. This is the nightcap, right? This is the end of the party. And so I took this shot. Even though now Katie said that it's like 90% formaldehyde. Well, it's got arsenic in it.
Well, it's got antifreeze.
Antifreeze, yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't. It's banned in most countries.
It's banned in like Canada, and it's a Canadian whiskey.
Europe.
We can't make just a regular cinnamon whiskey without antifreeze.
Well, they have Fireball. They just have like a nicer version. Anyway,
why can't we get the good stuff?
That was probably a shitty example.
Why do we have to pay more for prescriptions and we get the shitty Fireball?
Because we let it slide.
You can home make it. You can go to Google how to home make your own cinnamon whiskey.
Yeah, we can just drop some little red hots inside a regular bottle of whiskey.
Cinnamon whiskey. Well, that'll be our next venture.
Basically pickle cinnamon sticks in there.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
We have cinnamon sticks in the cabinet right now.
Pickle them in some whiskey for like a week.
Mark.
We got an Indiegogo happening, folks, for $50. You can do a shot with Tasha. No, anyway, so I was cool. But I was like, what if I did a shot with this other? We were at a white trash party. So like, what if I did a shot with this chicken at Hooters shirt? How cool would that be if this chick and I were just banging back shots? And I don't know. Now I sound like a crazy man.
That's where I would struggle too. It's kind of like dating an entertainer. I would struggle. I dated a model for a little while, and it wasn't. She's kind of kept to herself, so I don't think I. But also, if my girl was out shooting shots and stuff, I think I'd probably have insecurities, and I personally know myself.
She's got a shot on the beach, laying down, and I'm like, that guy was standing on top of you, getting that photo.
Men are sex vultures, and we know how we think, and
so we know what she doesn't know.
Dudes are trying to home wreck left and right, and it's tough, and and that's why I couldn't date. I realized, I can't date an actor or an actress because they're gonna have makeout or sex, and I get it, it's acting, but I still don't.
Well, I think
what you have to understand, like, you have to give your partner more credit. Like, sure, there are gonna be like douchebags or like bad guys out there that want to home wreck, but they're not trying to steal your girlfriend. They're just trying to get like a quick lay, and your girlfriend knows this.
Well, but
your girlfriend knows better than to be like, oh, let me leave this great thing I've got going on at home for like some quickie with some dude.
Sure,
like,
but
gonna cheat or she's not.
True, but it also can put you in a position that's just not good, because cheating. Yeah, you might not fuck the guy, but so like there was one time when this girl that Tasha knows was like, we got a jet to Cabo. We're going to Cabo. We got a free place to stay. And Tasha's like, great. I'm going to Mexico with these girls. They got a free jet. And I studied marketing and economics, and I know the main rule of business is there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Yep.
There's no such thing as a free jet. Somebody's fucking somebody for that jet fuel.
Yeah.
But if I'm not, what does it matter?
But you don't know that. You don't know that you're not going to show up in some seedy place in next. You know what I mean? Like, you think every girl who's in
I do want to come
slavery,
home with like all of my organs.
Yeah, and the point is that like, oh, how naive and sweet you are to come from Kentucky and live this beautiful life, but you don't realize that the men are vultures.
We are. We're out to.
How do you feel knowing, like, now that it's your ex-girlfriend, and knowing that there's just going to be and I'm not trying to burn this image into you, because if you're like me, you've probably thought of it a million times. There's going to be a bunch of dudes hitting on her. Not in it. Like,
not a fun thought of seeing other dudes banging your ex.
I don't mean that like in a. I'm sorry, because I don't mean that in a specific visual.
Don't
but
apologize.
I have been there, and I know that it's a horrible, because you can go on and bang as many girls and do your literally hilarious stand up, which I'm sure if you're on the road, chicks are going to be like, hey, what's up with this guy? Like, you know what I mean? I'm sure of it. So you can do that, but you still, no matter how many girls you bang, it still hurts more to think of the dudes that are just going to be hitting on her, because she's a female comic, and there's only 8% of comics are women or something. It's incredibly small,
and that's already happening. You know, there's always dudes hitting on me, and hitting on her in front of me.
And how do you detach? Do you have a method, or are you just?
I think it comes down to you block that out when you either trust your girlfriend or you don't, and it just comes down to like, I trust her, so I don't worry. She can, but it's kind of like, even if you trust your girlfriend and she goes off and is like, what are you doing tonight? I'm going to hang out with this guy at his house. You should know better than not to do that. Like,
how
you do whatever you want with your life.
You
do whatever you want with your life, but you should know that that's disturbing to me.
Yeah.
And if I would never go hang out with a girl at her house, like, I know how much that would hurt you. Even if I didn't do anything and you trusted me, I don't find that okay. Now, here's one thing that comes down to when I in retrospect, this relationship, and people don't look at this enough. And some listeners are going to be like, well, I think you're looking too in depth and thinking too hard, but it's true. I'm reading this really good book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Great. Yeah.
And he talks towards, 3/4 through the book about how Southerners, because of their lineage and Appalachia and their Scottish and Northern English herdsman culture is very prideful. Now, you go to the South today, culturally speaking, the men are very prideful. You don't want to piss them off. Versus they did this blind study where half the dudes went in to fill out paperwork and do this little quiz of 10, and they left and walked away. And then on the way out, some dude just bumped into him in the hallway with a filing cabinet and called him an asshole. Half the guys are from the North in Michigan. This was done in Michigan, and the other half were from the South.
What a great...
And the Southern guys all got pissed off and aggressive because it's a culture of pride. Now, I realize, being raised in a Southern culture, I realized...
Texas?
Oklahoma, that's right. My values, I'm not even talking about religion, or I don't agree with a lot of things in the South, the religious crap, or I don't agree with like the racism and a lot of things with the South. But culturally speaking, I've got the values. And I realized like a lot of times, like like personally, when I date, I want a career girlfriend, right? But I do want certain things. I was raised with a sweet, caring, kind girlfriend, and you can have both.
That's like cooking you dinner.
Well, then not even, but just, kind of. So I just the
Someone
way
with a similar upbringing, maybe. Someone that has those same sort of like taking care of.
Yeah, and I'm not
values.
saying a woman's like, you got to go have my kid and stay at home and do this and that. No. You have a career. You be a million. I don't care what you do. I want you to be a career.
So you
woman.
want her to do double duty.
That's a thing. That's out there. No, not double duty. Not double duty because you can only do so much in a day.
But you would do it as well. You would return.
Just the way a Southern woman knows how to take care of her man, you don't find as much in other parts of the country. And that's a fact. I don't care if you want to argue with me all day.
Like if her guy's
true.
sick, she's going to nurture him.
Yeah, and certain parts, Southern girls know how to nurture more than other parts of the country. You're from Kentucky?
Yeah.
But see, the feminists now, they want to get rid of that. I don't need to take care of you. You take care of yourself.
Which is bullshit because
No,
we're genetically
I don't think that's true.
Well, I'm saying we're genetically designed to want you to take care of us, and
But you're also, if you want to look at it that way, genetically designed to be the hunter provider.
And some of
protector.
my biology kind of goes out the window. It's not exactly what but I still love it when a girl's sweet and caring and kind to me, and that's kind of there you can find that anywhere in the country. Don't get me wrong. But
it's a value-based
I just
kind of how they nurture growing up.
There's a lot of things I could go into depth about, but just the value system, the way a Southern girl is, Tim McGraw has got 3 songs about it, and I just I don't know. I realized like out here I've dated a couple of Southern girls, and the way they are is just sweet. Like I said, I'm not, and I don't want anyone that's feminist to be like, oh, you sound like some kind of pig right now. That's not at all. Like I said, I want and prefer a career woman.
Yeah,
but just. I don't want you to come home from your job and just be, and you can have stressful days, and I'm always going to be there for you.
You scratch your back, I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Well, I think that's one of those things that like people say this sort of stuff, and it paints feminists in the wrong light because I think,
they get a bad rep. They get a really bad rep.
Right. What feminists really want is equality. And they're not trying to like, hate on women who want to stay home and just raise a family. That's not it at all. They want women to be able to have the option to choose for themselves.
Right.
And to be equally compensated. So we want, yes, equal pay. We want equal rights. We want to be able to make our own decisions about our bodies. But, it's not saying that they don't want to be like kind and caring. They want those things. It's like reciprocal stuff. Of course we want to take care of you at home. Right. We also want you to take care of us at home. We want to share home duties. We don't want to have to work full time at work and come home and carry and have the burden of responsibility of all of the things at home as well.
And most relationships early on possess that, and then somebody drops the ball. Whether it's like, I've been married for 5 years, you don't appreciate, you know what I mean? That happens a lot in relationships when
felt that a lot. That's part of the break. I just didn't feel appreciated, so
or respected, because I feel like those things kind of go hand in hand.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But so you didn't feel appreciated. What did you do to address that? Is there something you can do, or is it just their actions are louder than their words? Because I feel like most people don't intend to harm the other. They're just too caught up in their own shit.
Yeah, I think once again it kind of goes back to not communicating, right? And I probably felt like I couldn't say, "Hey, I don't feel appreciated," and I feel like that would have blown up in my face. So I probably felt like I couldn't communicate that. But
okay, and then you resent. Because you feel like you're still giving but not receiving.
Yeah, and then
that's a codependency thing.
And that's when it started to kind of fall apart right there when I felt like,
But hey, I do that all the time. Tasha will be like, yeah, that your socks are out. I did the dishes. You know what I mean? Like I immediately turn into like guilty, like, but I did this. And that happens all the time. It's just a matter of you didn't feel like you could even tell her that. And so are you talking about like,
and that's just, I can't point the finger or blame anybody. It's just a lack. We didn't create the habit of communicating correctly. And
do you know what your love language is?
Mine for them to give me?
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. God, how do not people not know about that? My God, and my roommate told me she would be great to have on here. She's like, oh my God, there's a guy, Dan Savage, she talks about all the time.
Yeah.
This guy.
Savage Love? Is that his show, Savage Love?
She's such a guru, and she's like, you didn't know about the... And I realized, looking back, I fucked up. I didn't figure out her language of love. So she wasn't feeling loved at all. So
or appreciated
She wasn't feeling appreciated
So what
either.
was
And I was like, oh, shit. I was like, I thought, because the way I know to show love, I was like, I'm showing. But then I realized, I was
She's
not
just not
giving
receiving.
her language of love.
Mind blowing.
For me, it's being kind of goes back to what I say and kind of
Being
a cultural
nurtured.
thing, being sweet and nurtured. And, of course, if I would have been really sick or throwing up, that would have been taken care of. But just, when I come home from a long day of work, like, just to be sweet and nurturing. And I know that kind of sounds like, well, you're conflicting with, like, this comes to a human condition. If let's say I want a career woman, I want her to come home, and it sounds like I'm a pig. Like I want all these things in a woman, but if I want her to come home, but if she comes home and she's a career woman and she comes home and can do,
You can fill your well up in the short amount of time you do have together. It's time something we be like, we need to spend 5 hours to feel happy. That's not true. Like you can fulfill that if you're focused and know what to give the person. I love affirmations, but I can tell Tasha all day long she's beautiful. But if I don't
do anything for her, it's not her language of love.
It would help a little bit. Like we all love being told we're beautiful, but I need to be told like, Dave, you're just doing the right thing. Like you're on the right path. You're going to be fine. Blah blah blah. I need that sort of like daily affirmation, and I would say Tasha needs quality time. She needs to know that like it's us that's going to go to brunch and not just like hang out with another friend. A couple, that's good too. But as long as we're filled, I would say,
Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't know that at first. I'd be like, but babe, I'm multitasking. I got a million things to do all week. I don't like the first day we literally started like seeing each other. She was like, am I going to see you later? And I was like, well, I don't know. Maybe I got some things going on. And I'm looking at my schedule, and in her head, I'm thinking she's like, this fucking asshole's blowing me off because she wanted to spend time together. And sometimes, I mean, that doesn't buy me 48 hours. I'm telling you. What did we do this week? We had our Valentine's night on a Tuesday, and then by within 72 hours, I fucked something up, and I'm like, oh geez, that expensive dinner didn't even buy me like 4 days. I'm like,
shut up.
But it's true. It's like, but it's not. It doesn't mean that every night we need to go out. It just means like last night we had our audition. It was a good chance to go out to dinner afterwards together. It just made sense. But we're so caught up in what makes us feel good. It's so hard to believe that's not what makes them feel good.
Well, it requires a little bit of like extra thought and extra effort, because it's not easy to put someone else's needs on the same level as yours. Always you are going to be your number one fan, right? You're always going to be number one to yourself. No one else is going to look out for you as much as you need to look out for yourself.
No girl will ever start a relationship with you and say, this is my love language. They're such complicated creatures.
Yeah,
we're smart guys.
It takes the effort of figuring that out.
We can go on stage,
and vice versa.
You can go on, if you're like me, you can go on stage in front of 100 people and probably do a seating chart after your set and know exactly where the happy people were, the sad people, right? You can just like we're a sponge to all that. Yet with Our Lady, we're like, I don't know what the fuck she's thinking right now. I don't know if she's happy. I can't read it from the text.
Here's the thing. We sit here and say that women are so complex, but I think we just have to put the work in. We're like, why isn't my girlfriend happy? Or what do I have to do? I bought her this and that. And we make it too hard on ourselves. We're being complex because you got to figure out what's her language of love. And I never, until she was gone, I didn't be like, oh shit, I never thought about that. And we never figured out each other's language of love, and we never communicated.
But that's a beautiful thing though, with the fart noise. We added that in post. That's a beautiful thing that you learned that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's at the end of the relationship. But imagine
wrong timing.
But it's like, you're a young guy. Imagine what you've learned that so many people never learned 30 years into a shitty marriage.
How many marriages have figured that out?
And how many marriages didn't figure that out, and they're still together because they're just old school.
So you bring that knowledge into your next relationship,
right?
Yeah.
There was a story I heard today about a lady went missing on a cruise, and the guy didn't report it for 5 days. And it's like everyone's like, oh, the guy pushed his chick off the cruise, but then they found out he didn't report it because she has disappeared before. Apparently they got in a fight, and she was like, I want to go home. He was like, babe, we're not going home. And then when they docked at like Italy or the next place, she never made it back on the boat, and they just didn't know if she just stormed off, and like they still don't know. And I'm like, oh man, can you imagine? Like we'll have. She's
literally like missing. Well, they don't know if she's dead or alive.
Well, who knows at this point? I could really care less about their the actual circumstance. But I was like, oh, that actually makes sense. At first, I was like, oh, the guy pushed her off, and then I'm thinking, oh no, she's a runner. And Tasha's a runner on a smaller scale. I don't think she would ever take a cruise with me.
A runner?
I mean, I would maybe if
Tasha,
if you
we
did
get a
something
fight
really really wrong, I might get off the
if
cruise
we
ship
get
in
out of-
Italy and just take a plane.
If we
home.
get in a
I
fight
might.
if we get in a fight in Malibu, she'll calculate the Uber ride home. If it's that bad. Now,
Yeah,
it hasn't
I think-
been in years, but there has been times where she's like, I'm taking an Uber. Like, I do a joke about it because it's so true, where she's like, fuck this. And like, and my whole thing's like, I don't think we get to that point anymore. It's been a very long time since we've been to that point where you've been so angry that you want to be like that far away from me. But this chick in this cruise apparently just would like bounce on her family, her husband and
Her
kids.
kids?
Yeah. So
What if she's at the bottom of the Atlantic?
Well, but the thing is, she's probably not. She probably just bounced.
She won't be getting any fights anymore.
That's
She's somebody
awful.
else's problem.
I can't believe her husband just decided not to say anything though.
Because he was probably embarrassed, like, and it was, I don't, whatever the case.
Yeah,
but
but-
anyway,
but
you never
literally
dated
every
like
couple
someone who
fights.
like sort of ran off and didn't want to fight, and they just kind of avoided. You had mentioned before we went to air, like, oh, we'll fix it in the morning. I don't know one guy in the history of the world that's like, okay, babe, let's fix it in the morning. We're always like, fuck, I want to solve this.
Yeah, I want to, but I learn now in the future not to do it. Just to wait till emotions calm down and deal with it in the morning. I've learned so much from this relationship and grown. Now, she was the one that she ended it, and basically, and I said, well, why? And she highlighted these kind of things that I was doing, right? And
Did she take ownership over any of it? And it's okay if she
That's something
didn't.
that she's going to do on her own time
Right.
down the road.
Right.
So,
nobody was perfect. Nobody's
Yeah.
innocent. And she highlighted these things. And for the first time in my life, I've had the willpower to really make a big change in myself. So the heartbreak is been the best thing that's ever happened to me, because the first time in my life, it got me to really sit down. Now, I could be a selfish person. I could have a short temper, and I could get, and this wasn't all the time, but sometimes I get sloppy drunk. And no girl likes that, but some girls tolerate it more than others. Now, this is the first time in my life, and it's so funny once you learn this and step back. It sounds like something you'd hear in a self-help book or some seminar, but when actually you really get it, it clicks. So, and this really applies to the city. So the first time in my life, I was heartbroken and told I was selfish, and I had to sit back and reflect, like, wow, someone walked out the door, and you got to get your shit together and stop being so selfish. And I realized here, fundamentally at the core, what was going on. Here was me, the old me, running around. Here was my mindset that I had to rewire. I was running around like so many entertainers in this town, majority of them. When you interact with people, your friendships, relationships, everything, your interaction is this: what can you do for me? Hey, Dave, what do you have for me? What I'll bullshit you, whatever I have to do to friendly to you, whatever. What can you do for me? And after that breakup, I had to say, well, you got to get your shit together. I'm the kind of person that has the will to change if I want to. Big changes that people don't normally make. And I said, you know what? That's why you're unhappy. That's why you're angry. That's why you're drinking so much. That's the core of all of it, the selfishness. And I've rewired my brain. Not going to have an overnight, but I've been busting my ass to work on it, and it's going to take years to get it down.
Good, man.
First time in my life, I've rewired my brain. Instead, what can I do for you? And my roommate's like, you be careful not to give yourself away. I'm like, listen.
Or overextend yourself.
I've been caring about myself for 30 years.
Well,
I'm not worried that I'm going to forget about myself. Don't worry. But
I'll tell you this. You can rate and review the podcast on iTunes. That's what you can do for me.
Deal.
What can I do for you?
Deal. You're already doing something for me by having me.
But dude, you're like, bro,
you.
you're making me feel good. Like this is what we do. This is growth. This is real.
Huge. This is the biggest growth I'll ever have. And it didn't take some book or some seminar. And now, and I practice every day. And now here's what happens. Here's immediately what happens once you start to get it and it clicks. You realize your selfishness was the core of all your unhappiness. I'll say this. This is a fact. You can look it up and think about some people you know. You will never meet a truly happy, selfish person. That's a fact. And someone who truly, and this doesn't go for everyone, someone that's truly selfless isn't always happy, but someone who's always happy thinks about others. That's a fact. So I just realized you give. You get, you want to be an important, you want to be a good comedian and successful, you have to be a valuable member of the society or the community. And the only way to be a member of the community and important is someone who gives back to the community, not someone who's what can community do? What can you do for me? Me. And so once you stop thinking about yourself and you start to think like, what can I do for the community? What can I do for other people? How can I help you? It's like this weight comes off your chest. And I feel like
a higher frequency of energy.
A better guy. I don't feel alone. I'm interacting with people. Just my connection to people now. And I realized I'm an extrovert, right? And for years now, 3-4 years, I was like, I think I'm becoming an introvert or something. I just don't like going out and talking to people. And I realized
if you're focusing on yourself, you will feel so lonely because you will feel like the only person that's caring about you.
Every conversation I had, it was probably me talking my head off and then being like, oh, this is one-sided and walking away. Now,
realizing that it was you making it one-sided.
I've never thought of you that way.
Yeah.
I could list 1,000 people that live in this town that I feel that way. But
what an important thing to remember, because it is. This is actually like really profound, and I think a lot of people are going to relate to it. I always preach the importance of having compassion for others, because I kind of feel like everyone we meet is sort of holding on by a thread. Just like really, it's hard. Life is hard in this city, and just in general, life is hard. And I think that people, they tend not to think about others because they're barely holding it together for themselves. But if you can flip that mindset, it opens just a world of possibility for you.
When you sit around and think, I got to watch out for myself, I don't have time to give a shit about others, you couldn't be further from the truth. You couldn't be more wrong with that mindset. Stop your bullshit. Stop thinking about yourself. And in this city, it's so easy to just get caught up and to think about me. This is the most me city in the world. And it's the most
me industry. We're literally on stage alone.
You're just
There's
trained.
No teamwork.
You're trained to thought, and you're around people that are all about me all day, and you get sucked into this vortex. But when it clicks and you start to think not about me anymore, oh my God. And it's just now I'm that guy that'll hang out till 4 a.m. at the bars chatting with people all the time. I am an extrovert. I just realized, of course, these were dead end conversations when I talked about me. And secondly, when I talk to people, I don't just, it's like gross my brain out. How you been? How's work? Gross. Nobody wants to hear those bullshit questions. They're bullshit. I'm like, how are you feeling?
That's my next question.
How are you feeling? Like, how's your relationship? Legit questions are like, let's have an engaging conversation. And people know, like, hey, he actually gives a shit. And this is just, it sucks that I had to go through heartbreak for this to open my eyes, but I'm like, oh my God. And that's the thing. You give back to a community and you start giving to others. And this isn't why you do it, but when you do it, it all comes back around to you and success starts happening. And I used to think, I'll be a nice guy when success happens. Backwards. I will be the nice guy now and just do me and quote me. Whenever it happens, success is going to start coming my way. But it's just
because, it already is. It might not be in certain terms that we'd like, but it's
not in monetary. It's not on television.
Because you could have that billboard outside. What's so funny is that
But if I was a selfish prick with that billboard, I wouldn't know it, but I'm not successful, and I'm not
cars
happy.
Can't even see it that well.
This 360 of my personality and rewiring my brain is a bigger success than any billboard or TV show I'm ever going to be on, and I'm thankful to know that. That's what's important.
Well,
Amen.
Even if we could throw all that other stuff out the window, you still are building your circle of friends of real friends that feel like you have touched them in a way, because we just want to touch on the surface with everyone we meet, or at least I feel like that's how those superficial kind of conversations are. I don't know if it's because we're afraid of the time commitment or we don't want to get too deep in someone's personal stuff, but it ends up making those friendships very much surface friendships, not deep friendships.
So many in this town. Hey, how are you? And then you both feel as disgusting, like it's like a business acquaintanceship, and it's gross. When I talk to people now, I don't give a shit what you have. I don't give a shit if you have anything for me. I just want to know, how can I make your day better? What can I do for you? If somebody's just like doesn't have anything to do, the guy mows lawns, what can I do to make his day better? He can't do shit for me. But I don't care anymore. I don't care. If I talk to some executive producer or somebody in the industry, I don't care if I want to go golfing with them. I won't talk about
something as simple as a genuine smile could literally change someone's day.
Ask people how their day was. That like if someone works at a cafeteria or Starbucks, because people don't do it. Ask some guy that's walking down the street with a shitty day. Just ask him, how's your day? In a genuine way. And it will turn someone's day around.
Just the negative energy can be shed right off.
And another thing, too, is there's a lot of negative, shitty assholes in this town. And everyone's like, well, fuck that guy. I don't want to stay on him. He's a dick. But you know what? That guy needs the most help. That guy needs you to be the nicest to him. So I take people that are just in a nasty place, and a lot of comics are. And I genuinely kind of dig down, and I go to their level. I'm like, hey, man, shit, he's fucking, this agent dropped me. I'm like, dude, I've been there. That sucks. And get it to where we connect. Or like, he gets me. And then we can have an engaging conversation to where I can bring them up to my level.
Yeah, don't just tell them, cheer up. Actually,
that's like
get to where they
might
are.
as well just put your dick in their face and slap them by saying cheer up.
I'm guilty of that because I'll always tell Tasha, I'll be like, yeah, but look at the positive. And it's always like, sometimes they'll beat the fucking shit over your head. Like, oh yeah, fuck you, the positive. But it's like, it's because we want to teach right away. So I'll be like, all right, what's the lesson? What's the positive? But sometimes it's like, oh, that sucks. Yeah, you got burned. Oh, yeah.
Fuck you want
them.
a little bit of compassion.
Them.
Exactly that. You want someone who you want to feel like you're not alone in this thing, that somebody relates to you, that someone understands what you're going through. Yeah. And then you feel like you can let it go. Yeah. I feel like you just need to feel like you're not out there alone on your island. And I think a lot of those sad people just really feel like they're the only one experiencing their sad thing and they can't let it go for that reason, you know?
Well, that's the thing when you tell someone, cheer up, or it'll be all right, which it makes it worse. I have a buddy who I love. He's a comic. He's just a most ridiculous stories that have ever happened to him. Here's this guy in a nutshell. You have a shitty day, right? You're behind, let's say you get an STD or behind your taxes, just something shitty that happens. You call Steve. Yo, Steve, have you ever had this thing happen to you or had that with your taxes? And he's always got the worst case scenario story. He's like, dude, I owed $15,000. You feel so much better by the end of the phone call. You're like, holy shit, I'm not that bad off, actually.
Steve should make money doing that for $1 a minute.
He should give motivational speeches. All right, ma'am, what is your problem? She's like, my husband doesn't love me. Oh, dude, I had this girl that was like, oh my God, let me tell you how much she didn't love me.
So he's two peas in a pod rather than like teacher-student. Now, two peas in a pod is a great way, unless you bring each other down. It sounds like he's doing it in a positive way, but if it's like, yeah, fuck the government, fuck this shit, and you know what, chemtrails in their spine, and then it's like, whoa, hold on.
I think it's who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Also, some people are going to do better, like hearing like, oh no, don't worry about it. It's not a major problem. I had that same problem before. It was sort of a pain in the ass, but it can be fixed. It's not the end of your life.
But now you're a little gun shy when I come home after a rough day. Saturday night, I did a set at Improv Space.
Gun shy?
Well, so is that a term, gun shy?
No, I think you're not saying what you mean. I'm just very empathetic,
she
I absorb.
It.
Well, when you were talking about like really digging deep with someone who's like on an emotional island and has a very negative energy, that frightens me because I tend to take on those feelings instead of helping them get to the bottom of their own feelings so that they can let go of their own feelings.
You have to absorb their poison. And then bring them up with you.
Well, let me just say what happens.
But you also have to be able to spit out their poison.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe you help them by absorbing some of it, helping them like getting to the bottom of it, and then feeling like you've taken care of it and you can let it go. But when things are out of my control, like in your situation,
Comic
if you bring
did
home
such a shitty set, he bombed so hard the whole audience left. Except for one chick. Now the Improv Space. So there's only 15 people in the room.
Oh, okay.
12 or 13 left. There was a comic and a comic's girlfriend. A comic's girlfriend counts as like 20% of an audience member because they're really not going to laugh.
They listen to too much comedy to care.
So anyway, the whole room's gone, and I was really excited to work on some bits. And literally 2 minutes before, I had an okay room. They all leave. They were like, "Oh, we got to go." This guy, and then I go up on stage and I just eat it in front of 0 people. So I didn't feel like I bombed. I just felt like I got put in such a shitty spot.
Frustrating.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't bomb. I just didn't have anyone literally in the room, so it was a waste of my time. And I think Tasha projected like I was in a really bad mood, but I was just like, this fucking night sucked. That's how I felt about it.
In this situation, the difference I think is that it is completely out of my control. It's really like, sure, I can do maybe a little more to help you process, but it felt like to me that you are sort of wallowing in your own sadness instead of deciding, okay, that's a wash of a night. There was nothing I could do about it. I'm washing my hands of this and moving on.
Yeah, but this was like 8 a.m. after like I got home at 3. So I feel like maybe you thought I was wallowing when in fact I was just like on 4 hours sleep. So it's totally fine. But I just want you to know that bad things are going to happen to stand-up comedians
a lot of bad
all the time. And I don't mean that in a woe is me way, but it's like we are still humans, and I do a much better job of not coming home being like, look, I didn't get up there, this guy did it. Like I used to get enraged.
That you have to take some of the responsibility for that as well, and realize that if you're making a habit of coming home and projecting that sort of stuff, then you're doing the wrong thing. You can expect from me as often as I can to be like soothing or understanding or help you work through it, but you can't put all of that responsibility on me every single time.
I know, but it's not every day at this point. But imagine like if you came home and be like that one day an agency was like considering signing her, and they passed her photo around, and they're like, we're gonna pass. Like, how insulting is that? And that happens often. And like, what if that happened and I was like, babe, get over it. I can't deal with it today. You always come home.
But I have never once said that to you.
And I've never once been like, ugh. And in this case, I was just like, ooh, I ate a hot one. You know, sometimes you just bomb or you just eat it so bad on stage and completely out of your circumstance that you're just like, it like hurt. Like, I did that at the Improv open mic, and it's like we're in front of all of our industry friends, and you just eat a solid one for 2 minutes. And don't get me wrong, I probably still did better than half the people on that stage, but to me, it was like, ooh, that hurt. And to me, it feels like I lost a Super Bowl in that moment. And yeah, you got to shake it out of your system to an extent, but you also have to have someone there to be like, hey, you're good. And so what I'm searching for, what gets drained really fast is my what fills my love up. So all my affirmations are gone. I have an empty well. All I need is for you to start throwing some quarters in there. Be like, you're good, Dave. Come on, babe. You got this. You're all right.
Yeah, we should have a reminder on the wall. Dave needs affirmation, so that when you bring home your shitty attitude, I can be like, oh, wait, but that's a great idea. A gold star.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Just give me the fucking thing. I know what it is. I need, but when it's so dry, I can't give it to me. Give me love.
You need to bring on another comic that has bombed before in front of important people and sits down and says, hey, yeah, you had a shit set, but bottom line is, it doesn't matter. It's a numbers game out here. The more people you get in front of, the more your chance. So, yeah, I bomb, you bomb, we all bomb. We're going to bomb in important gigs. It's a numbers game. The more numbers you get out there, you'll make up for that bomb. So, fuck off and have a whiskey with me.
I'm going to listen to what you just said. I'm going to clip that part.
Yeah, it's a numbers. You just have to remind yourself, say with modeling, say with anything, this town is a numbers game. And there's going to be guys that are going to blow up and get TV shows within a year or 3 years, and you're going to be fuck. But you can't be angry and jealous.
And you know what?
You can kind of bank on the idea too that nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody who saw you in the audience is remembering your terrible performance for the rest of their life. They just don't. People are, like we've been talking about this whole time, involved in themselves. That, they are so focused on themselves that they're not worried about your bad performance.
Well, they're thinking about their set coming up. They're not even hearing what you're
we
saying.
Talk about, I mean, there has been times when like comics come up after and be like, oof. Like they know I bombed.
It's a dick move, but funny.
No, but it's like, but when it's a friend, it's like, oh, fuck, oof. You know what I mean? Like you just like, we know, we get it.
Yeah.
But
have you thought about acting?
So we talk about stand up and the rejection, but like we can easily just substitute that and talk about dating and the rejection that you get just by trying to approach girls or meet them. And
or just
it's the same
insecurities in general.
But it's the same ratio of like you need to stay positive. Is for people listening, they're not comedians, maybe they are, whatever, but they are. We're all trying to search for like a good companion. We're trying to if you're younger and you don't want something long distance, or you just want a chick that like gets you, or you want like the best thing you can find. And sometimes that means you strike out a bunch. You got to go. Just keep on staying positive, giving. In the conversation with strangers, like you mentioned, like it's not just about you. And guys, a lot of the times we get so amped to talk to a girl, we just start reciting our LinkedIn profile, and it's like, whoa, like be coy with that. Just like ask them how their day was. Like it's amazing how quickly you could probably like earn the trust of a girl if you were just like asking them their questions about them.
But you know what? It's hard for a lot of people. It's not exactly natural to do that. It's not. People have not put in the effort of like rewiring their brains.
You gotta plug all the fucking cords out and replug them.
Right? We've been kind of fumbling along for however long our lives have been, and it's not the easiest thing for some people.
Two things, and then we got to get out of here because we're almost at an hour. I heard this story today, completely off topic. Joe Biden's kid who died, his younger brother is now dating Bo Biden's widow. Isn't that crazy?
What?
Do you know? This is a true thing. They released a statement today. Beau Biden died of brain cancer,
Yes.
and he had a widow. The widow is now romantically engaged to Beau Biden's younger brother, who was married to some other lady.
Sounds like a Maury episode.
Right? But the vice president's kids. Anyway, did I just completely
Yeah,
derail
that's
the whole?
weird.
I just wanted to mention that because I thought that was crazy when I
What was
heard
the
that.
name of this podcast? Is it Derailed?
Derailed. And then another side note. This is how I'm going to end it on just several side notes. I'm going to zig and zag. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we got a package from Australia.
Oh, do you want me to get the package right now?
Full of candy. Can you eat candy?
What kind?
Or chocolate? Different stuff. We're taste
I'll have a
testing
bite
it.
or something.
You'll have a bite? Okay, let's taste test something. And we're trying
Do
to...
you guys not edit?
No.
Oh, I was about to say, because I would say go an hour and a half and then edit, but...
Nah, we just, we might clip with the Beau Biden bit. Can we do another half hour on that? No, we can go long for sure. But anyway, we've been getting this care package from this Australian girl. So let's only taste test one thing. So let me know what you like in here, and we'll try it out. And this is... Oh, did you lose your thing there? Oh, here you go.
All right, so we have Minties. Don't know what that is.
Yeah.
This is the one thing we're not going to try, Vegemite.
Oh, you got to get the Vegemite and put it on your toast. Oh, when you're fucking hungover and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to go to the store. I don't want Vegemite. It's the best. Let's see what their tagline is. Proudly made in Australia since 1923, Vegemite. Because you fucking hate your life. B vitamins for vitality. No, that's not why you...
Is it really B vitamins?
Yeah.
It's got B. No one eats Vegemite for the health benefits.
I mean, I guess when you're hungover and you just want something salty, but does it have good vitamins?
Yeah,
it looks
sure.
Like sure.
Well,
it
let
has
me ask you.
and
So,
energy.
how did you become such a good? What's it called? Impressionist or accents? Is it the same thing?
Yeah.
Where did
It's
that
like some
come
people
from?
can just play instruments. They got an ear for it, I guess.
What's your best? You got like a Southern preacher?
See, because I'm a little bit under the weather, so it's everything's a little bit off. But Southern easy to do. So many people can do. Like at my church growing up as a kid, we had this preacher who was super homophobic when he would give his sermons, but he was obviously a closeted gay guy, and we all knew it. I want you to open your Bible right now to Leviticus 4:13. It says, if one man lies with another man, it's a sin. If one man meets another cute guy outside and he's like, oh, he's so cute, and makes out with him behind the church, it's a sin. Can I get a gay man? I mean, amen. Everyone can do it.
Leviticus. And I can imagine you like looking through a Bible for the gayest sounding word. Leviticus.
Yeah, right. And if you're going to do Afrikaans, South African, you've got to know a bit of the history and the different cultures to do it. It's very
that
important.
sounds Scottish to me.
Someone said Griff. Hold on. Someone said
if-
Griff did a great Arnold impression in college. Jeez, you're getting called
Arnold?
on someone's.
I can't even do it. No, like if you're going to Scotland,
Yeah,
it's very
that's my
important.
favorite.
It's very important to understand in Scotland the actual geography of the country is very important of how you do the accent because Scotland has a lot of hills. It's up and down, right? So your accent goes up and down like this. That's very important. And then if you go a little bit south, you go to Manchester, right? You don't tell me you're a Man City fan. They're dirty. They might be Scouser. I don't like Man City. They're dirty. Man United for life. And then you've got like London. Like I'm a DJ from London. I've been doing it. I've been mixing and producing for like 18 years, and it's really important. It's really important to me to make original music that people really can get on board with, and I can play live. And then, like, fucking people look at me and say, you're Irish. How fucking Irish do you look? You look like a hobbit leprechaun. So that's very important to do that. And there's other ones I can't even
Jeez,
So
that's
good.
amazing.
Right.
Oh, all right. Not a lot of people can do Holland because they don't understand the Dutch culture. But if you've ever listened to any DJs from Holland or you've ever been to Amsterdam, this might be a decent Dutch accent. If anybody's listening and chiming in, I would like to hear your opinion if this is a good Dutch accent.
I liked it. I've been to Amsterdam. I think that's a good Dutch accent.
I haven't been. I wouldn't know.
Do you ever just meet girls and just lie to them with an accent?
I joke about it. I did that in college. I could never go home with a girl because that's just shitty. It's
Yeah,
like,
that
that's
seems
gross. I couldn't do it.
misleading.
All right, what are we going to review? This?
I think Carmelo Koala.
All right, you want to help us review that? Maybe you can do it in Australian.
Oh, Carmelo Koala.
And I'll have a bite of yours.
All right, baby.
All right, give it a shot. Yeah, we got to get through this candy. I'm trying to be healthy.
They've got a really sexual tagline here on the Koala Carmelo. Milk chocolate with smooth flowing caramel. How do they say it? Caramel? No, caramel. I don't fucking
Caramel.
know. Caramel.
We should
I'm
ask.
totally putting you on
How
the
do
spot
you say
here.
it? You're from Kentucky?
Caramel.
I say caramel.
That's how we say caramel. The rest of the world says caramel.
New England says caramel. Here, give me a bite of the... Or
I
try
have
it.
not had a bite
All right,
yet.
take a bite. Try
I'm
it.
looking at this cute. Let's see.
This is what we do. We trail off. Yeah, we trail off with a treat reviews of Australia. If any other parts of the world want to send us candy, by all
I was
means.
going to try to date her, but she's not single anymore.
Well, Griff, you've lost some weight, so we're going to feed you. No, are you healthy? You don't have to eat it if you don't want.
All right, my health.
All right.
Really good.
Well, last week we tried the ripe cherry. It was coconut cherry chocolate. This is not as original. This is good, but I'm still going with ripe cherry over this.
It is very sweet chocolate.
But this is
The milk chocolate.
This is Cadbury, which Cadbury's actually British, right?
Yeah, British.
So some reason we don't get that here. Anyway,
There's an Australian chocolate app. It's called like Air or something. It's got like holes in it. And if you're Australian listening, you know what I'm talking about.
Rachel's our go-to
Rachel,
Australian.
you know what I'm talking about? It's got the holes in it or whatever. It's called Air Crisp or whatever.
I'm sure she knows. Send us some more. No,
She
I'm
knows
kidding.
what I'm talking about. I had it when I was down there.
So you've traveled all over. We'll wrap up in a minute or two. But you last time I really talked to you, you had a show Mexico City and you got robbed.
Yeah. Oh, there's another thing too. This is before the breakup that just changed my mindset too. I mean, I was still selfish, but I got robbed at gunpoint, and the dude put a gun to my head and
Jeez.
and just robbed me blind. And
I thought Mexico City was supposed to be safe.
Mexico's not safe. For anyone listening who wants to say, don't try to perpetuate stereotypes that Mexico's dangerous.
It's like you got robbed at gunpoint.
I'm sorry, but it's not a safe place.
Yeah, you've
The
got-
cartels run everything there. So
Where were you?
I was in Mexico City, and what's considered, and here's the thing, it's considered a nice area. So I'm walking home, dude puts a gun to my head. Now, all the time, every day, tourists get robbed. Someone puts a gun to the head, I make one, like, scared, sudden movement, guy pulls the trigger out of fear.
Yeah.
People die every day because of that. I could have lost my life so quickly.
So you stayed very calm.
I stayed calm, and I gave him my shit. Now, when you have a barrel of a gun, you're looking down. You see your life in front of you. And when you walk away from that, let me tell you what, you stop bitching about the weather. You stop complaining about the traffic. You stop complaining about shit. I'm just like,
Puts
we're
it all into perspective.
so lucky to be here. Happiness and sadness are all about perspective. And also over taking too many mushrooms one time and thinking I had cancer and coming out of that and like basically living it. So when you have these experiences, powerful. I took 8 times the normal amount. If anyone's ever taken mushrooms,
Jeez.
you know that's like, whoa.
Was it an accident?
I thought, no, it was a purpose. It was
Why? Why would you do that?
I like to test my brain out. I'm mentally stable.
you don't like what
because
you
I'm
found.
mentally stable enough that I can do that. Most people couldn't. And I remember I just had appendicitis, but my brain had been tricked into thinking I had cancer. Then it was stage 4. I was so convinced. Here's how convinced I was. As if your doctor told you, damn, I'm
Wait,
so
you had
sorry.
appendicitis prior to doing your mushrooms, and then you just started
I
thinking
had
about
a
it?
feeling.
So you were having it right then while
My
you were
appendix
taking...
was already ruptured. That's a whole different story. It'd been ruptured for a month. Yeah. So...
That can kill you. A month? You had a rupture?
I grew up with a tough
appendix?
dad that didn't take us to the hospital for anything, so you just plowed through. So I thought that I had cancer. Imagine your doctor told you have a week to live. I'm so sorry. That's a fact. Here's the blood test. You went to 4 other doctors. And that's how sure I was.
After you came out of the high?
No, this is
During
during the high.
the high.
And I remember thinking, like, what are the odds we're living conscious beings? It's impossible. It's so, holy shit, life is precious. What I would just do to have another week, I broke down and cried for 3 hours. I thought I was figuring out how to call my parents. I was just like, that's it. I was, oh my God, what I would do to get another year of my life and to come out of that and to get a gun to your head. Life is all about perspective. I value just being here right now. And
How did you walk away from that? You get robbed. You're giving them, I'm assuming, your ID and all that?
everything.
All your
Keys,
money, keys, phone.
credit cards.
And so you're
What does
just,
he want your keys for?
He's a dick.
That
So
just
was it
seems
one guy or
mean.
was it a couple?
2 dudes.
And then so that happens, and then do you go back to your hotel or wherever you were staying?
Oh, no. You go to the U.S. Embassy, and if you think the DMV sucks, you have... And there's another thing about perspective. DMV is a cakewalk now. Oh, the U.S. Embassy is like the Dementors in Harry Potter. It'll suck.
How did you get back into the States?
You had to get a new replacement passport.
Now, I went in there thinking, hey, I lost my passport. You think it was objective, like, oh, we'll give you a new one. This is what our embassy's here for.
You expect the U.S. Embassy is going to take care of you.
Yeah,
hey, team, I'm here.
America. Hey, America, you're going to help me, right? Because you're America. And then they look at me and start to tell me, no, thinking I got drunk and lost it, and they weren't going to believe my story. And I remember going into this mode, like, you're going to have to cry. You're going to have to pull some acting skills. Whatever you fucking do. I had to start crying. I'm like, I got robbed. I'm like, okay, what?
Did you pull the stand-up card where you're like, I'm in town performing? Did you try to pull that card?
I'll try to make the story really quick. I will, I promise.
Okay, no, take it.
I like this story. You take all the time you want.
You got your gun pulled. I like this story.
I get a gun pulled, and I'm like, well, that fucking
adversity.
sucks. And then the next day, you got to go to the worst place on earth, the embassy. And then I'm like, oh my God, I got robbed, and I just don't have anything. Cried like a bitch. And they're like, okay, calm down. We're going to close in about 30 minutes, okay? And this is a Friday. They don't open until Monday. My flight's on a Sunday. They go, okay, who are you flying with? And when is your flight? I go, it's Sunday, and I'm flying with Valoris. Okay, we need to get on the computer and pull up your confirmation. I'm like, okay, I'm like, okay, let me get on yahoo.com. Of course, the computer says, we don't recognize this computer. We're going to text you a code to put in. I'm like, fuck! So the clock's ticking. I'm like... trying to calm my nerves, but my body's like, we're going to freak out and shit the bed. I'm like, fuck. So I'm like, oh my God, the dude that bought the plane ticket for me is off on vacation somewhere. So I had to get on Facebook. I'm messaging him. Nothing. I can't even call him because he doesn't have reception. So finally, my buddy was waiting for me down, my Mexican buddy's waiting in the Starbucks downstairs. And I'm like, dude, hey, Pablo, you got to call in right now and get it. He calls like 15 calls. Finally, he picks up confirmation, sends it to me. He's like, we're closing in 2 minutes. So they finally get the confirmation number, and they're like, okay, we're going to make you an emergency passport. It takes 2 hours. I get the passport. I'm like, oh, thank God. The plan was I was going to go to my buddy's resort where he is, which is like a couple hours outside of the city. That was the plan. I was going to go with his birthday and his crew, but they already left, right? And I'm stuck in Mexico City. I call him like, all right, hey, man, I got my passport, so you guys have fun. He's like, no, come to the resort. I'm like, I already missed my ride. He's like, he owns a barbecue joint. He's a Jewish guy from New York, owns a barbecue joint and in a trailer right in the middle of Mexico City. He's like, no, Carlos is shutting down the restaurant. Go with him. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to
And they must have felt bad.
Yeah,
like,
they did.
Came
they
to my
felt really
city.
Bad. Yeah, and they're like, you know what, fuck it, Carlos will take it. Carlos and I are driving there. He's got a beers. We're just drinking them in the car. No, zero fucks given. It's a 2.5 hour drive. We're halfway there. We get a flat tire. I'm like, what did I do to do? And right, we fix it. About 30 minutes later, we get a second flat. Now,
so you used your spare.
Somebody hates me. The story keeps going. It gets better. Somebody fucking hates me, right? And we don't have a spare. So we just drive like an hour and a half on this like up cobble roads. We get to the resort. It's this giant house. They have Airbnb. I'm like, thank God. It's a party. There's like 50 people there. 20 minutes in, the power shuts down. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm exhausted emotionally and physically. I'm like, I'm shaking. I want to kill someone. I'm like, okay, I just want to sleep. Okay, it's the end of the night. It's like 2 a.m. I just want to go to bed. Now, there's 50 people in this house. They're all staying there. Nowhere to sleep. So I have to sleep on the couch. There's people partying till 6 a.m. I get no sleep. I'm exhausted emotionally. I want to kill someone. Finally, people go to bed at 6. I'm like, thank God. I start to sleep. And of course, there's a chicken farm next door. I wish I made that up. Of course.
The roosters?
The roosters.
I love how like racist your story sounds. Like, yeah, at Pablo, there's a chicken farm. It's like, no, this was real.
This is a real thing. And I'm like, ah! So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to sleep then. So I don't sleep. I'm exhausted and delirious for an entire day the next day. A bunch of the people go back to the city, and finally a bed opens up. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get sleep. God, this is going to be so glorious. I get a bed. I start to sleep, and I start to feel this weird feeling. And I'm like, oh, God, I know that feeling.
Montezuma's Revenge?
Worse. I'm like, oh, I know that feeling. Oh, it's when I was in South Africa. I got food poisoning from an ostrich burger and had to go to the hospital that day, but I still had to perform because I was headlining at a casino, so I had to fucking make it. I pulled an IV out of my plug in South Africa and raced. Even the doctor said, you can't leave. I raced out of there around a corner and got to the hospital, plugged the IV out, and did my job from a couple brandies. So this is like, oh, I know that feeling. Oh, shit. Fuck, I got food poisoning. I raced to the bathroom. Bloop. And of course, and this is like bad. So
it's a cartoonish sound you made.
Of course there's no toilet paper, of course. So I have to use the shower. I have to use the shower to clean up. And every 30 minutes that night, I had to race back in, do my business, and shower to clean up because there's no TP. This went on every 30 minutes.
Dude, this is a great Airbnb story. This is why you don't Airbnb your house.
No sleep again for another night. I get to the airport finally, and I'm like, oh, I need to leave. They're like, where's your immigration form? I'm like, I got robbed. Okay, I don't have it. And they're like, well, you can't get out of here if you don't have that.
They didn't take care of that at the embassy?
They didn't give a shit. Nope, they didn't take care of anything. So I get to the airport, and like, you can't leave. And I'm like, what do I need to do? You got to make it down to the place that sells the immigration forms downstairs. And I'm like, what? So I race down there. Now I still have food poisoning. So if I sprint too fast, I'll shit my pants. But if I go too slow, they're going to close because they're closing in like 10 minutes. Like, this is
Sophie's choice.
So I sprint and then I walk. I sprint, walk. And all these Mexican people are like, what the fuck is wrong with this? I finally get there. I'm like, I need an immigration form. It's like, oh, it's 50 pesos. I'm like, I got robbed. I have no money. And they're like, we don't care. And so I started crying again. And the grandma gave me money. I got on the plane home. Now, I'm finally in LA. Thank God I can get home. Now, here's where it's fun. No money for a cab, no Uber with a phone.
No cell phone.
So I had to beg money. I had to beg for money from some German couple.
Just right there at LAX?
I had to beg for money from a German couple and take the bus home. I get home.
Now, what about... Now, I'm not trying to say that I could have done it better, but...
Someone said this is hysterical. Yeah, I agree.
It is hysterical.
Sadly.
But what about just a payphone? Asking for 50 cents for a payphone... And do you know, my real question is, do you know anybody's phone number by heart?
No,
I feel like that is.
We don't. I don't know anyone's phone number
Once
anymore.
you get in a situation like that, you learn your lesson, and now you have like at least 3 phone numbers memorized.
And I know that now, and I should, just for emergency, you should have that. So I get home.
But no one's going to answer an unknown call either.
Right,
if you called me, I'd be like,
yeah,
no.
But then you leave a voicemail, and then you just stand by the payphone and say, call back this number. I'm standing by this payphone.
Wow.
Yeah, there's different ways to do that.
And how sad is it to go to the airport with no money? Because the only way I can fly is if I buy shit and eat stuff. I need to eat and just absorb and feel better about the experience.
So,
and I get home, I almost finished. I get home, and then there's a giant medical bill waiting on my bed from when a dude on my birthday night earlier a few months assaulted me for jokingly wearing a Trump hat and broke my nose with his head, and I had to go to the ER, and I'm paying off a $2,000 medical bill. So it all tied together in 1 week of fuck you, Griff. And when you get out
what
of
was
that,
the universe trying to tell you then? Maybe you were just learning a lesson.
You could handle it, though.
Here's what the universe
That's what it
told
taught
me.
you.
If you can make it through this, anything else is a cakewalk, and perspective of how I appreciate life. I come out of that a better person, just like this relationship. I come out of a tough situation a stronger guy. You have a choice when something shitty happens.
Yeah.
You can be nasty and bitter and let it beat you down, or you can be stronger.
Well, I think in general, they call it like the will to live or like thrive or whatever. It's like you find a way to work out of it, no matter what sort of like crappy situation you're put in, especially if you're in this situation all by yourself. In Mexico City all by yourself, and you just have to figure it out. You don't have any you don't have any friends to help you. You don't have anybody to call to pick up the slack for you. You have to manage it on your own, and you do.
It works.
You just do.
Works.
It's going to be hard. Yeah, it's going to be challenging, but
so it's just manage. A faith. It's a faith, and it's really like one step at a time. Like, when you got a busy day or crazy things happening, it's like that stressing of like the shit you can't control doesn't help you with the things you can. And like you couldn't control not having a credit card.
We could all just live by that.
But when you're really pressed to it, you go to the embassy. You just do the change a tire, one thing at a time, and you get some kick-ass story. But what you've really gained is the knowledge that you can control that and that you can overcome
handle it. Yeah.
That you can handle a beating, and you learn to control your stress, because I've been in a lot of weird situations in my life to where I realized if you get stressed, you make it worse. You got to keep your head cool.
What a weird
plow through
genetic thing we have, stress doesn't help us.
Well, it's the fight or flight thing, right? It's adrenaline.
Yeah, stress is there so we could fight off enemies. It was actually useful back in the day, but not now.
So you stressed out this Bernie supporter, and he headbutted you. Is that what happened?
It was a Bernie supporter.
It was probably a Clinton supporter, to be honest.
Some white trash dude just snapped. And I remember to go to court with him, and he just looked so.
Did you win?
Well, no, he automatically pled guilty and got a felony charge and anger management 3 years.
Wait,
and has to do community service.
But did he cover your bills?
No. I'm having to send. There's the amount of paperwork and bullshit you have to go through to do that.
So wait, what? He has community service, and that's all. What did he get?
No, anger management, a felony, community service 3 years. You get a felony let's say he has a job that he hates. Right? And he's like, he can't quit it now.
Yeah.
He has to stay in that job. He's paying. Trust me.
Was he drunk? Why would someone just hit somebody for no reason?
He was drunk.
Oh, that's so. But even if we've all been wasted. I've never headbutt someone. I mean, maybe a buddy of mine I've roughhoused with, but never on purpose or to hurt somebody. I could never imagine. I grew up with just my mom and my sister. I never had a dad be like, you fight when you're. I just couldn't imagine resorting to violence. But that's just not me.
Especially over a hat.
But you're in a bar, dudes get aggressive sometimes.
Yeah, strange. Well, dude, we're at 75 minutes, so we got to wrap this up. But dude, you got to come back anytime. Bring your roommate, or come back just you. I mean, definitely, you're invited back. Your stories are hilarious.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
There's more where that came from.
I need more Scottish next time, if you don't mind.
That's right. I'll do the entire podcast talking about that.
So
you really do. I mean, like, you look. No, are you Irish or what?
I could go to a bar and tell girls that I'm here on an exhibition rugby match, and they'd believe it.
All right, the international Griff Pippin, everybody. Where can people find you? And by all means, people listening, watching, go follow this guy. He's super funny.
At Griff Pippin. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Yeah, check me out on Twitter. I mean, Instagram. I'm trying to really get that Insta going.
Do you do a podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
And I'm glad you mentioned that. Check out Surely You're Joking. If you're into science and comedy kind of colliding, it's a great podcast because it's like we have a nuclear physicist with a PhD in nuclear physics from Caltech who is on there. And then we have Bill Nye. We have like Andy Weir who wrote The Martian or Alan Alda. All these great science.
That's awesome.
So if you're into science and podcasts,
we got to check that out.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had. I was going to say if you didn't, I was going to get so mad. Like, how could you not have a podcast? Because you're tailor made for one. But that's great. I got to check it out. I didn't even know. So thank you so much for doing this one, Tasha. People can find you where?
Thank you guys.
At Tasha Courtney, Instagram and Twitter. Tasha TV on Snapchat. Send me a message.
Sex Actually Pod, Instagram, Twitter, sexactuallypodcast@gmail.com. We've been getting some really funny comments from people, so keep blowing us up.
Yeah, if you got any feedback from this episode, we'd love to hear it. I know I asked for an opinion earlier, and I don't remember what it was, but send me some.
I was all excited. I was bragging because I thought we hit 250,000 total downloads.
He had his math wrong.
I did the math wrong. So next month.
We hit 225,000
total downloads. But I was looking at the 25 as a quarter of 100.
It's 50, babe.
I know it is, but in my head I was like, yeah, we did it. And then I was like, oh no, that'll be next month. So
I'll give you some secrets when we get off air.
Oh, please
some
do.
math secrets.
Dude, I need them. I'll take anything. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. If you listened to this podcast and you want to see what we're actually doing on this, the podcast is live and it is on Facebook and also it'll be on YouTube. Search Sex Actually or Dave Neal on YouTube and same thing on Facebook. Go like the Sex Actually page on Facebook to stay in touch. Sometimes people listen to shit and they never know what we're talking about. Well, like us, follow us, and then you'll see.
And also to our podcast listeners, share it with one friend. That's your challenge for this week. Find one friend. See if you can coerce them into subscribing. That'd be really dope.
We need it. We appreciate it. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for coming over here, buddy. You're so funny. We got to do a show together too. I don't think I've ever actually been on a show with you.
Yeah, we gotta figure something out.
And you and I know we're on the way out. You just did. You've been doing a commentating show too, where you commentate during someone's stand-up act. So funny.
Basically, you have a comedian come up, and myself and Brian Moses, the creator of the Roast Battle, like sports commentators. We do live commentary with sports. We're like, okay, starting off, that was a strong opening play. I like what he did there. We put some points on the board. Okay, and then they'll hit
it's so tough on the comic, but it's so funny.
Yeah, and then the comic will like stall or something. Like, a lot of dribbling there. Yeah, and then a comic will say something crazy to the audience, like that was a strong curveball. And we're really polishing it up.
And you did at UCB this.
Yeah.
Do you have a date for the next one, or
we don't?
All right, so people go follow him. I'll bring Tosh to the next one. I definitely want to watch it. It's super funny, super original. It'll be a TV show for sure.
If you're still listening, check out the comedy game show at the Hollywood Improv March 14th at 8:30.
March 14th, 8:30.
The Ides of March. Is it March 14th? Who knows? Anyway, people are still listening. They don't know why they are, but you are. So that's follow Griff, all that stuff. It's so funny. Oh, so funny, that show, the Gamecast. It is so funny.
You should have seen the last one.
Oh man, and I just went to the hole in the wall place. You did it a few months ago, the Clubhouse. Nice place, but it was like a small little room, and it was so funny. I mean, everyone who was in the room has been a past guest on this. Brian Moses, Todd Dorham, they've all been on the show. So I love the community of friends we're building here, and I'd love to see that. And anyway, I'm rambling now. We got to go. Bye, everybody. Sex Actually.
Bye.